这个就变成这个就好，在这 recording 看到没？这才是 recording。OK， 这开。
Hi, my name is Ismat Alam, and I'm from Pakistan. Hi,
Hi,
Commissioner.
thank you.
I've followed you for a long time. You're a big inspiration for professional women.
Oh, thank you. Wait, we've got another microphone.
Oh boy, okay. I'm technically challenged.
That makes both of us.
Okay. So I think, Commissioner, that people are scared to come and complain, because the moment I went and complained and filed a grievance with Victor's office, 3 weeks later, I was fired. Not just me, but my staff was fired within 15 minutes after me. And it's been a month and a half. We have gone and we have again complained. We have, they have sent subpoenas and everything. There were 4 people. 3 of them were Muslims from Pakistan, and 1 was an American lady. 3 women, 1 man. You name it, and it's been going on. And it's one of the civic, the organization that's supposed to protect your civic rights. It not happened. And still they're flourishing, everything is happening. At this point, 4 of us, we are out of job.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, and I think that's very important point of discussion. It's not a quick process, and it's not an easy process, but it is a process. And in this situation, and I don't know your facts personally, and I don't need to, because I'm the ultimate arbitrator, I'm the ultimate decision maker. What is important to know is that the division has 180 days to investigate a complaint. And within those 180 days, that is when Victor and his staff does the necessary investigation. And within that 180 days, we will come up with a probable cause or non-probable cause. I think what's important in the situation that you laid out is that not only do you have a discrimination complaint, you will then have, or part of the process will be then retaliation. And it is, you absolutely have the right to file a complaint. And you have the right to file a complaint free and clear of any type of retaliation. So even if I wholeheartedly believe you have engaged in discrimination against me as a woman, and it just shows through the investigation that there was no discrimination, I was just not a good employee. If from the point that I filed this complaint, you have then demoted me, fired me, whatever, the first half of it might be no probable cause, meaning I absolutely was not discriminated against. The second part of it is you thus, as an employer, engaged in retaliation based upon the complaint I filed. So without getting into it, because this is inappropriate, let the process work. Absolutely. More questions? Yes, please.
I want to...
Tell me who you are.
My name is Yiming Zhang. Yeah, I come from China originally. So I have a situation, want to make a comment. I feel in the United States, probably it's like the human rights, you protect, you guys did a good job, I believe. It's easy apply for government. For a private company industry, I don't think it's very likely government. I think like what he say is a lot of people just get scared. If you complain your boss and you get discriminated, you might get fired. Oh, because the guy he evaluates your performance, right? Hey, you get low performance. You gotta be careful, okay? Well, second year you may get a layoff. So I would say it's very different. I heard a government job, the employee get protected very well. But the private company,
I would,
what's your comment?
I would say to some extent you're right. That I won't even say government versus private company. I think that across the board, that is the concern. And the reality is that none of us can afford to lose our jobs. And if we're not living paycheck to paycheck, we're living every other paycheck to paycheck. So that's important. What I will tell you that it is like standing up to a bully. Once one person does it, you will be amazed at what comes after it. So you're right. And part of what we do as an investigation, in the investigation process, is look at those evaluations. If you have always gotten high evaluations, and then all of a sudden you get a low evaluation that correlates to the time when you speak up about discrimination, that is absolutely taken into account. Or you have always done well, and then all of a sudden people that maybe you were responsible for training or that you were responsible for are now getting more hours and you're getting less. So part of the investigation isn't just he said, she said. We have subpoena power. So that means Victor at his office can subpoena your private company, and not only do I want to see the evaluations 6 months before and 6 months after, I want to see the evaluations for everyone similarly situated. So everyone that's held your position, let's see the evaluations. So that part of the process is an adequate investigation. And I won't disagree that being the kind of the sole person or being the person that steps out and files this discrimination claim, it's very scary and it's very real. And we see situations where once one person does it and has the courage to do it, we then find that it literally is a pattern. And what we also, as the division, can do, which I didn't speak about, is that, say if it's a situation where you can't, for a number of reasons, cannot afford to file the complaint. But you come and you say, Commissioner, I'm telling you, company XYZ has a process that is systematic by which Asian men over 40 are discriminated against. We have what we call a division-initiated investigation unit, which means we can actually send in either our testers or other testers to go through the process. And then we file the complaint on behalf of the state of New York. So that the state of New York files a complaint of discrimination against XYZ chair based upon these findings. So there are ways to protect an employee, because that is very real. But what I will tell you is when the one person or the two people have the courage to speak up and act, you will see it's almost like a rolling effect. And remember, we have the ability not only to subpoena, but we can issue what we call compensatory damages. So say you are discriminated, say you were fired. Not only do we have the jurisdiction to say his back wages dating back to the first date of the discrimination, we can also say, and an additional blank amount for compensatory damages. So I'm not going to tell you that it's easy. And I'm not going to say it's not scary. You know, I had a situation when I was in the city council where I had some undocumented workers who were working on a construction site. And every week they were told they were gonna get paid. And every week came and they didn't get paid. And one happened to be passing by my district office, came in to use the bathroom, honestly, and started talking to one of the staff members, and we found out what was going on. And I said, I'm just gonna call and see what happens. And I called, and I was as simple as this. I said, oh, you know, is this so-and-so? Yes. I was like, how are you? This is Councilmember Foster. And I represent, you know, did the whole spiel and kind of told them, gave them a quick civic lessons. I said, it's my understanding that you have person A, B, C, and D who you've been promising to pay, and they're going on their 6th week coming back and haven't been paid. I'm calling to let you know that I am showing up with them this afternoon at the work site so they can all get paid. Is that something I need to do? And, you know, humana, no, Councilman, I don't know what, oh, the check, look, you know, like everything surprisingly shows up. So I say that to say that sometimes bullies are bullies because they can be. And once you kind of call their bluff or you step over the line in the sand, you will find some movement. And then other times, they're really going to need to be kind of nudged and pushed. So my suggestion is to do it, to go out, let us do our job, and trust the process. And I know, you know, I'm not saying that blindly. I understand the risk of trusting the process. But at this point, that's the only way we can address it. More questions? Yes, please.
Actually, I have a friend, actually, she went back to China in the summer. Can you hear me?
Introduce yourself.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So basically, so because you mentioned about this, I just made me think. So that's what happened to my friend. She went back to China during the summer. I mean, she paid her rent, but when she came back, you know, her whole house, her furniture, her clothes, everything was, you know, was gone. And somehow, you know, this, you know, what I call it, rent management told her, you know, they thought she wouldn't come back. You know, she has very little English, so she tried to fight with them, but eventually she didn't really get anything back. So all her stuff was gone. So she had to start fresh, you know. So I'm not sure this fall into your category because she doesn't have a lot of money.
Oh, okay. That is the one thing I forgot. You don't need money from us.
No,
I should have
no.
started that. Wait, no, I'm going to get to you.
Yeah, that's the important part.
You jogged something. This is free. So you come in, you are provided with an attorney who's representing your interests, but representing the state. So don't think, in addition, you don't have to figure out if you're discriminated against and you don't have to pay. In this situation, you're right. It does not fall under our jurisdiction. Excuse me. However, it is a situation that can be addressed because whether her English is limited or not, if she in fact paid rent, that secured her or should have secured her space, her, you know, it doesn't matter. if she went to China for a month, a week, or 2 months. That doesn't matter. What I would recommend is that before we leave today, get the information to us, we can exchange information, and I could put you in touch with the correct state agency and or city agency to address that.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have some questions here. We have a question right here, and then the gentleman in the blue first. You go first, and then the gentleman in the blue.
Hi, I'm Carol.
Hi, Carol.
I'm with DOL, so I have 2 quick questions. Maybe you can help me to clarify.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
Pressure.
Harassment and discrimination. Seen that a lot. Bring a lot of times we're not trying to do your job, but give us some advice, like between the line between harassment and discrimination. How do we know it was actually a harassment? Because harassment may not be as serious as the discrimination.
Where are you located?
I'm with unemployment.
Okay, because what I was gonna say is that in many of the OGS buildings we are in, we kind of work, we try to create a relationship with DOL. So my point is, you don't have to figure it out. And I don't mean that, I'm not trying to be funny. If you're not sure, just reach out to us, because I'm not sure either. Like, I need to hear the facts, and that's why I can't emphasize enough having the conversation, because you're thinking in your DOL hat, I'm thinking my DHR hat. And what we may not be thinking is when we put the 2 hats together. And so what can be covered in terms of acts of harassment, if we get a little more information, we're gonna figure out that, it was discrimination that led to the harassment, or vice versa. So that's why I want you, again, we can give you Victor's information. Call us, and I always say, I don't know. I may not know, but I'm gonna give you some answer so that I direct you to someone that knows.
Yeah, I think that's great, because it's not my job to figure that out, whether it's harassment or discrimination. It's always we ask the basis for people feel, oh, I'm discriminated. Okay, what is your basis? We go back to this protected class.
And people don't understand what do you mean, what's my basis? Because I said so.
Yeah, you do make a list, and then at the end we do refer them to the hotline or the website. Okay, now just for a second. This is
And
like
both are against,
a lot of
actually, both harassment and discrimination are against the law based on protected classes.
Oh, I
if
don't know about
someone's-
harassment though, because
If it's based on the
clearly
fact
says-
if it's based on the fact that you are, let's say you're a worker who's a little bit older and they keep bothering you at the job and making comments about the fact that,
Or like
when are you retiring, that type of stuff, that is, Right.
Right,
that is, if they're constantly harassing you at work based on those protected classes, then that's also.
Second one,
Second,
when you mentioned something, domestic violence.
yes.
That's a status. How do you define the status? Is it only after the order of protection is issued, or how do you say I am a victim of domestic violence?
That's an excellent question. Victor?
I'll answer the best I can.
Yeah.
The human rights law kind of refers to other statutes in various places throughout, and it refers to the civil courts as what they consider to be a crime of domestic violence. So you don't necessarily have to have gotten an order of protection to be considered to be a victim of domestic violence. If something has happened to you that would be a domestic violence crime, you would fall within that umbrella.
So,
So anybody can basically claim that he or she is.
well, you could claim it like but there would need to be, like for the examples I used, or if you, when doing training or situations where I show up to work and I am continuously, boyfriend, whomever, partner is engaging in behavior where I am threatened, or I have physically been attacked and have to take time off for court. So it's not, hey, I'm a victim of domestic violence. That's the protection I'm claiming today. It is specific behavior actions that rise to the level that are referenced in the human rights law, that reference the criminal or civil aspect of domestic violence. And how we have seen it is situations where an employee has to take time off to go to court, to go get the order of protection, or to show up to pursue a criminal case against a batterer.
No, exactly what the commissioner was saying, and you can see other things that really kind of led to the domestic violence status being incorporated into the HRL, into the human rights law. Something where you may be working for a particular company and your spouse, whoever the alleged batterer may be, is showing up in the workplace, and this is something that we would see frequently. So, a woman is working somewhere, she's a battered person, the spouse is showing up in the workplace, and the spouse is causing problems, right? So what does the employer do? The employer fires the wife or
The worker,
girlfriend or whoever. That's exactly the kind of thing that the human rights law is designed to address and to try to rectify, and those kinds of situations. And again, on the order of protection, if you have been assaulted, that is a crime of domestic violence as it's defined in the statute. You don't have to then go and get the order of protection to be able to say, something happened to me because I'm a victim of domestic violence. The mere fact that you have been the victim of a crime of domestic violence grants that status to you.
Thank you for that, Victor. And I think it's important how this has come about is that many victims of domestic violence have been penalized for the behavior of the batterer. So, we had a situation, we are in a office building, and we have separate security downstairs. So it would be a situation that I'm leaving for lunch or I'm going for a coffee break, and every time I go downstairs, my batterer is there. The purpose behind it is not to persecute or penalize the person who's been victimized because of the behavior of the batterer. Yes, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Javed Manir. I'm from Bangladesh. So I was wondering, you guys take care of the housing discrimination. Now, how do you take care of the mortgage discrimination? Someone applies for mortgage based on his race, sometimes you get declined.
That's a great question. And I always hate when people say to me, oh, that's a great question, because my thing is, of course it's a great question, that's why I asked it. So I'm not saying that in a condescending way. Why that is a great question is because that doesn't come under us, but that we cover, not we as in the Division of Human Rights, but DHCR, which is
Homes and community renewal.
yeah, the Division, Homes and Community Renewal, that will come directly under that. And so even if it's a situation that you call and say, I've applied for a mortgage and Victor got a mortgage, Rochelle got a mortgage, I didn't get a mortgage. And, you know, my credit rating's better, da, da, da. You can call us, but that is a situation where DHCR will specifically address the issue with mortgage discrimination and discrimination and redlining and kind of making you have better, you know, need better scores and all that to get a mortgage. So that doesn't fall under where are we? DHR, but yes, that is definitely something that can be addressed.
DHR take care tenant discrimination?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, so, and I know I keep saying it, and I can't say it enough. You don't have to figure it out. That is for us to do. So, if it's a tenant situation, if it's any type of situation, you know, we did the same housing event where they said I created dogs as a protected class. We had many landlords had to come as like court mandated punishment, I guess, that's how I'll say it. So you see me, I'm like, oh, good morning. It was a morning event, I'm like, good morning, how are you? And you know, when people are like, you really have to be stink not to talk to me, because I'm bubbly and I'm like, good morning. And we had landlords who were not happy, and when they signed in, they're like, I'm only here because just horrible. And you know how you can, this is probably my own stereotype behavior, but you can, for the women in the room, you can tell the female landlords, like they came in with their Goyard bags and, you know, or yes, the red bottom shoes, things that I am just laughing. I'm like, oh, clearly you do not work for the state. But my point is, at the end of the event, those same people were like giving us hugs and thank you so much, because there was so much we didn't know. And they did. They were like, we came in with attitudes because we really thought you were only here to tell us everything that we're doing wrong and all the rights the tenants have. And what they ended up finding out, was like, oh my gosh, there are perimeters and we do have rights. And so I say that is just trust me when I say bring it to us and we'll figure it out. Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Galbasi. As a Albany County government employee, we have a training every year to learn what is a harassment and what is just regular conversation that she talked about. During the training, like we learn harassment is something that you feel you're uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say your coworker just say, oh, hey, I like your top, or oh, you look extremely sexy today. That's how you feel. So the first thing that you should do if you feel like you're being discriminated or the conversation that make you uncomfortable is to talk to that person directly, because that person may not know that they're offending you, actually. So they may thought, oh, it's okay for me to talk like that. Then you should bring up, say, I don't feel comfortable the way you talk to me, I feel offended. So just let that person know first, and then bring up to the higher level of authorities.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's a good point. What I will say is that some people don't feel empowered enough to say, hey, I don't like the way you're talking to me, or it makes me feel uncomfortable. Or it's a position where we have unequal power. So I'm your supervisor. I don't care how you feel. You understand? So I'm saying to you, you're right. There are situations where that is not going to work. And the other problem to it, as I see it, as the person that's put in that position, it's not my job to educate you as to what's appropriate or not appropriate to say in the workplace. Because we know like everything we think we shouldn't say out loud. So yes, you can have the conversation, but the protections are there if you as the individual do not feel comfortable enough to have that conversation.
Okay. And another thing about the domestic violence, well, it's just, you don't need an order for protection, or you don't need anything, like you don't need like evidence or anything, like you have a bruise on your face or a scar here and there. It's just you have the fear of that person. You don't want to go home to see him. You don't want to stay with him. You don't feel comfortable with that person. That's domestic violence. You don't have to have any evidence. You don't have to prove anything. It's just you're not feeling right.
And that, thank you for that again. And that was the point that Victor was making. Exactly that. It doesn't have to be an order of protection. It has to be fear created, whatever it is. Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
My name is Tony, came from China originally, been in US for 9 years. So honestly, I like both countries. Always wish the two countries can get along, but unfortunately that's not the case, even especially for
That's
now.
higher than my pay grade.
But recently I've seen more and more incidents that people are showing anger, hate, or discrimination toward like Chinese Americans, including people in the street yelling at like maybe Chinese-looking people saying go back to your country. Or sometimes I've seen some of my friends or some colleagues in the community, not nearby but some other places, who had Chinese origin, who got targeted even by some of the government agencies. I mean, honestly, those things are not making me feel very comfortable, because I came to the country for a reason, believe this country gives us equal rights, and now more and more things are happening which are not in favor of, not in my favor. So, not happening to me yet, but who knows? What would be your general advice?
Well, let me. Okay, Rochelle, come. I was going to say, okay. Sometimes I have a problem. I'm going to talk. Right. I'm taking off my commissioner hat and I'm talking to you. I have people telling me to go back to Africa. My people built this country, free labor, Africans enslaved. How dare you? How dare you talk to me about patriotism? There is no other group, race that is more patriotic than enslaved Africans that were built this country and then fought and died in every war and have been denied rights. What you are seeing, and remember, I am in my capacity as not commissioner. What you are seeing is entitlement and racism at its best, because people feel empowered to say, go back to Africa, to call you names. And we are most afraid of that which we don't understand. And unfortunately, it is the least educated, and I don't mean book smart, I mean the least educated in terms of being willing to get to know someone who looks different than you, that speaks different than you, that eats different than you. Sorry. That's what, this never rings ever in my life. Maybe that's, so, you're right.